Today we're looking at how Qualcomm, a company that isn't directly in the AI business, could see its results positively impacted by AI developments within the industry. First, a little background. If you're not familiar, Qualcomm makes modems used by your cell phone to connect to the cellular tower. So they make components within the phone. You wouldn't ordinarily expect AI to impact these components directly, but as we'll see, there's a shared ecosystem within the phone that could make a difference for Qualcomm. So we have an article here from the Wall Street Journal by Dan Gallagher. Let's get into it. The irony of an AI iPhone is that it could also help one company that Apple is least interested in helping. Investors are increasingly enthusiastic about such a device following Apple's latest earnings. Those results showed a pronounced weakness in iPhone revenue during the March quarter, but that was already expected, and the company cushioned the news with a generous stock buyback. Chief Executive Tim Cook also used the occasion to further tout Apple's interest in generative artificial intelligence, which has analysts more convinced that an AI-enabled iPhone is on the horizon. Ben Reitzes of Malleus Research predicted, quote, an AI-driven iPhone supercycle is likely coming in 2025 in his notes to clients. Apple shares jumped 6% on Friday, the stock's single best gain in 18 months. So if you watched my previous video on Apple's earnings from last week, you'd already know about Tim Cook's statements about AI. So some subtle signaling here that there might be something coming from Apple. It's always tough to predict. It's not a great place to be predicting Apple's moves, but it seems definitely possible. Let's move on. So if AI is in a phone, the computer and memory is going to consume more power, said TD Cowen analyst Matt Ramsey. If you want the battery life to be the same, where you're going to get the power budget from? Modem, RF, and screen. So this is the connection to Qualcomm. Qualcomm makes chips that are in the phone. If you want the battery life to be the same without increasing the size of the battery, which may not be possible depending on the space available in the device, you're going to have to get the power savings from other parts of the phone. So that leaves modem, RF, and screen. So modem chips are something that Qualcomm makes. So if they're able to create chips that are more power efficient, the value of those chips are going to be greater and more in demand. So let's continue. That could even help extend the life of Qualcomm's contentious business with Apple, which has long been working to get Qualcomm's chips out of its devices. Apple's failure to develop its own modem led to the two companies extending their deal last year. Qualcomm is also believed to have won a place for its RF chips in this year's coming iPhone lineup after chipmaker Skyworks told investors during its quarterly call last week that it lost that socket. So Apple and Qualcomm have a history. Here's an article from 2019, just to give you a flavor of how these companies have been working together. Apple has called Qualcomm a monopoly and said the CEO of Qualcomm has lied about settlement talks between the companies. Qualcomm has accused Apple of deceiving regulators around the world and stealing software to help a rival chipmaker. So this is about 5 years ago or so. Obviously not great partners. So what can we take away from all this? It seems likely that Apple will be investing in on-device AI inference, leveraging their strength in the AI venue component, which is something I discussed in another video. I'll put a link to that. Kind of how we break down the AI industry and how venue, the place where AI meets the customer, is something that Apple has a strength in. Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference is in June. Will we hear more about it then? Maybe it's too early. The analyst was saying 2025 for the devices. How much lead time will developers need if they're going to be doing this? Interesting to see and parse the story that they tell. Also, can Apple crack this use case? Other companies have released devices that are really focused on AI. There was the Humane AI pen and the Rabbit R1 that were basically AI-focused devices. You could say that's almost all they could do. They weren't really tied into an ecosystem. These devices have not received great reviews. They're rather limited in their capabilities. They're also, Gen 1 devices, so maybe cut them some slack. But it'll be interesting to see how Apple, with all the advantages that it has, can it create strong and compelling use case for AI? How will that be built in to the device, and how will the consumer use it? And then lastly, last point I'd make is the logic here for Qualcomm and how it is a player in the cell phone chip ecosystem also applies to the screen. If you're looking to save some power to run the AI components, you could also look to the screen. iPhone screens are made by Samsung, LG, some others. Apple has been, for the past year or so, talking about insourcing or building screens in-house. So could those players see a change as well in their in their results? Samsung obviously makes their own handsets, so they're well positioned to take advantage of the coming AI business. So, we'll stay tuned. We'll see where it goes from here. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.